Definition of the word.
Old.
Adjective.
Of an object, concept, relationship, etc., having existed for a relatively long period of time. Of a living being, having lived for most of the expected years. Of a perishable item, having existed for most, or more than its shelf life.
Example.
An old abandoned building. An old friend, a wrinkled old man, an old loaf of bread. Having been used and thus no longer new or unused.
Example.
I find that an old toothbrush is good to clean the keyboard with. Having existed or lived for the specified time.
Example.
How old are they? She's 5 years old and he's 7. We also have a young teen and a 2-year-old child. My great-grandfather lived to be 101 years old. Of an earlier time. Former, previous. That is no longer in existence. Obsolete, out of date. Familiar. Being a graduate or alumnus of a school, especially a public school.
Example.
My new car is not as good as my old one. A school reunion for old Etonians. The footpath follows the route of an old railway line. That is the old way of doing things. Now we do it this way. When he got drunk and quarrelsome, they just gave him the old heave-ho. Tiresome after prolonged repetition.
Example.
Your constant pestering is getting old. Set of subdued colors, particularly reds, pinks and oranges, as if they had faded over time. A grammatical intensifier, often used in describing something positive. Mostly in idioms like good old, big old and little old, any old and some old.
Example.
We're having a good old time. My next car will be a big old SUV. My wife makes the best little old apple pie in Texas. Excessive, abundant.
Noun.
People who are old. Old beings. The older generation, taken as a group.
Example.
A civilized society should always look after the old in the community. A person older than oneself, especially an adult in relation to a teenager. One's parents.
Example.
I had to sneak out to meet my girlfriend and tell the olds I was going to the library.
Old. Old.
Old. Old.
Old. Old.
Old. Old.